everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Rayados90 Podcast. I'm your host, Eddie. I'm not that good at intros. Sorry about that, and I'm not gonna do it over again. So you live
Hi,
with that
you're
mistake. Joining me, returning back for her second appearance is Zamira. Uh,
Hello.
and then she has her brother,
Hey,
Fernando.
nice to meet y'all.
Nice to meet you too, man. She was like, "You guys talk about Monterrey. Uh, you guys do your own podcast and nobody's listening." And then she was like, "Hey, would you mind if he comes on?" I'm like, "No, go ahead. As long as he could, as long as he's a talkative person, that's fine by me." So good to have you on.
I do talk a little bit too much about Rayados, so
So I did this with Samira last week or 2 weeks ago. She talked to me about how she, anybody that comes on that's new, I always ask them, like, how did you become a supporter? I don't know if it's the same as your sister, but go ahead and just give us that background. Like, how did you end up becoming a supporter, whether it's through friends, family? But at what point did you be like, okay, this is actually the club I want to support? Because parents, friends can guide, they can influence you. But at the end of the day, it's like, do I have a connection with this team? Do I have a connection with this club or whatever? At what point did you realize, like, okay, yeah, I'm in it for the long haul here?
so unlike my sister, I'm not from Monterrey. I'm from Tijuana, and I was born being a Rayados fan because of my family, because everyone supported it around me. But at some point, I kind of deviated a little bit from Rayados and started supporting Cholos. I thought, like, you know what, it's my hometown. I should be supportive of them. But after moving back to Monterrey, just watching the games, being able to go to the stadium, I started reconnecting a little bit more with the Rayados fan base and just started feeling in love with the club once again. So, um, honestly, just started loving the badge after some of the Concacaf games that I went to with my sister, some of the times that we went to the stadium. And I'm always gonna say it, one of the ones that made me fall in love with the with Rayados itself is Nico Sanchez. So
Yeah, no, yeah, that's yeah. I think you missed like the dark years. Like I think Cholos
yeah,
were like really good in like when they came up in first division. Then they had like those dark now. I mean, they had like now these dark years, but now they're at least
yeah,
decent. So you got off right in time where like they started to become really really bad.
We
yeah,
were we were able to see Chupete at the Cholo Stadium.
Uh,
So
yeah.
so yeah.
no, that's always good. But yeah, no, thanks for coming on. Lots to talk about because there's a lot of news. First, let's dive into the Cruz Azul match, which ended 1-1. Sergio Ramos with the only goal for Monterrey. Uh, I'm blanking on who scored for Cruz Azul, but they tied it. Right? They were able to tie it
Who's the
right
captain?
after.
I don't know the name.
Rivero.
Yeah, there you go. I was gonna say so. I thought it was because they have like some Argentines that sound like they have an Italian last name, so like they all confused me.
Yeah.
So yeah, either way, Cruz Azul leveled it, and nobody was able to score after that. Even though Monterrey had about either about 20 minutes or just a little over 20 minutes playing the man up, and that was like the most frustrating part of the game. Uh, if you want to touch on if you want to recap, just give your thoughts on that. But the biggest point is where's your level of concern because this performance comes after a 1-1 draw against Vancouver. Obviously, they were going with the very, very like I don't even know if it was a B squad. It was more like a C plus type of squad. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, it was. I mean, so I can't blame them too much. And we're at the point of the season where it's like you have to rotate. You can't run some of these, especially because Monterrey's best players are over 30. So you
yeah,
can't run these players into the ground. They're just not going to make it. Competing in two competitions. So you have to rotate. You have to pick and choose your battles. They chose to go with a C plus squad for Vancouver in that first leg, and then go with pretty much you can say like their starting squad a little bit. Against Cruz Azul, came away with just 1 point, which isn't ideal because they dropped points at the start of the season, and if you want, I can bring this up, but Demichelis was kind of content taking a 1-1 draw, even though it's like you've dropped points already at the season. You dropped points against Juarez, Atlas, Mazatlan, Puebla, and you're kind of back into a corner where you have to start winning these games where the competition is a lot more harder just because you have to compensate for dropping those points. But give me your level of concern. I'll start with you first, Amita, and then we can go to Fernando. Uh, where's your level of concern here going into this game against Vancouver? You don't have to touch too much on Vancouver. Just where's your level of concern at with the state of this club, squad, whatever? Because they're currently they're just barely inside the play-in. And yeah, it's gonna take them running off four. I think they only have 8 matches, whatever, left in their season. It's gonna take running off
Less.
3-4 games, like a 3-4-5 game winning streak, to like try to just jump back into that top 6 to avoid play-in, which it would be a disaster. I don't know if anybody remembers Pachuca last year. They had to do the play-in while also competing in the Concacaf, and it was just a disaster.
Oh yeah,
So,
game after game. Yeah.
it was just a disaster. So, where's your level of concern at with the state of the squad right now?
Well, I mean, first of all, like we expected the lineup for Vancouver, but it was really surprising that they were literally all like bench starter. Like it was just I think De Osa and Oliver Torres and Mochis. Oh no, it was Andrada. Never
No,
mind.
yeah. It was just
It was just De Osa and Torres,
Yeah.
I think, right?
Yeah.
Which we expected they were gonna be like players that were not regularly playing or participating at all. I didn't see Aldair. I was expecting for him to play. That was really sad. But then you see the lineup for Cruz Azul, and you're like, okay, so you're playing with everything we have right now, like what we have right now, and the condition they have. Because like speaking about Ocampo, speaking about like the moment that they're living right now, especially against Cruz Azul, that you know that you're always struggling with someone like with a team like them, that you know they're gonna be having a line of 5 on the back, that it's gonna be really hard to get through those lines. And right now that we're struggling with scoring, because that's what we're going. We might have good games, we might be scoring, but we still missing strikers to score. So if you have the best lineup you can have on the back, on the midfield, if your strikers are not responding, or you're like, I don't understand why Canales keeps playing that position.
Yeah.
You're literally wasting him. We're gonna get to that point.
Yeah.
Like I know in a little bit, but
yes. Once we talk about Demichelis in or out, we'll get to
yeah,
that.
so you see the lineup and you're like, oh yeah, this is what we got. So it's a game that you want to win, because again, you can't lose points anymore because you're facing Pumas, that they're like trying to
and they found their like under Efraín Juárez, they found life.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They're getting
so
that
it's not gonna be
same
easy.
yeah, they're getting that same push that Monterrey got last tournament with Demichelis, so they bring someone in mid season, and even Rogelio Funes Mori scoring goals for them. So
I know.
go ahead.
Yeah,
A miracle.
So yeah, you have Chivas, America, you have El Clásico against Tigres. So there's these games are the ones that we have to play like no chance to lose. There's no space anymore. And I know it was risky to be like waiting until now to actually play games like you cared. Also, you don't want to like push your players to the limit. But I think the lineup for Cruz Azul, like this last game, it was for something more. You could see that Cruz Azul was also struggling with actually finishing the game, like finishing the plays. And you're like, okay, so Cruz Azul is not being so aggressive, and the best moments you have, you need to take advantage of that, because Cruz Azul, it's not an easy team to score to. So they were both like the tie against like 1-1, that was really good result for what they showed, to be honest. But again, you had the everything to win that game, and we saw the game, and he had everything. So I still don't understand what's not finishing, what's not completing the whole process, like all the strings together.
Yeah, and I think if it wasn't for Monchi, like people want to get on Monchis too because he can make some mistakes just like Andrada, but he actually and Cruz Azul, they couldn't finish their scoring chances. I feel like at some point in that first half, Cruz Azul should have been up like at least 2 or 3 goals.
Yeah.
They were they were bad at finishing, and they were just like I know Demichelis said, Monterrey came from Vancouver to Mexico City, but I mean Seattle isn't that far off from Vancouver. It's like an hour away flight wise, so it's pretty much they're both flying in from the Pacific Northwest. So it's like you got two teams that are I don't know if you want to say jet lag, but two teams that are coming from like the farthest part of the United States. I mean, the farthest you can go if you're playing like in Montreal or somewhere up there like Toronto, like that's the farthest you could go when you go out east. But in terms of like the West Coast, that's the farthest you can go. Go to Toronto, go to Seattle, up there in the Pacific Northwest. But Fernando, where's your state of concern in the squad? Because yeah, dropping points that they've already dropped to start the season, not ideal. Like we just said, you don't want to be in that Pachuca situation that they were last year, where you have to play a play-in tournament while you're trying to battle. I think I think it was the semifinals against America that they had to like balance. But where's your state of concern for this team? Do you figure they'll figure it out, or do you feel like okay, we're just destined? This is going to be this club is destined to finish in the play-in.
I I definitely say that we're gonna finish in the play-in. That is something that I think we all need to accept because from what I'm seeing and the kind of decisions that the Michelis is taking for how he's gonna play the games, it's kind of making us believe that we're gonna stay in the play-ins. Because um, I feel like against Vancouver, it, a lot more could have been done. The star player for Vancouver, Gold, I feel like he was having a good game, but we kind of took care of him for almost the whole match, and just the mistake that caused like the goal, it wasn't good to see. But at least we know that we were playing like y'all said with the B squad, almost C squad. So I feel like that result was a good one. Seeing the Michelis manage the players to at least uh like go face to face with, I think Vancouver right now is second place in their conference.
Yeah, they
So
started out pretty well. They only lost to Saprissa away, but since then they've beaten LA Galaxy. The LA Galaxy has been bad this season, so they're the reigning champs, but they've been bad to start the season. They beat Saprissa at home. They beat. Oh no, yeah, they destroyed Portland, and then
yeah,
they just right now like this past weekend they beat Montreal. So yeah, the Vancouver team is feeling very confident.
it's it's a really decent team, and seeing like our B squad going into that game and getting the draw, I feel like I was expecting for the Michelis to keep that mentality and go into the Cruz Azul game. And like most of your players were rested. It's not like you can blame jet lag if the starting 11 was not even the same starting 11 for the Cruz Azul game. So like most of them were resting, and like maybe like 3 or 4 players did go into the game. So I feel like that's not really an excuse to give. Cruz Azul on the other hand, like most of them were actually like almost starting 11. I feel like Cruz Azul did some switches like the striker to like kind of have some of them go into the second half. But like if the Michelis didn't learn how to take advantage of that red card after the 70th minute, uh, what are we expecting as a team like to do against America, against Chivas that is having a good moment right now, against Tigres, against Cholos? I feel like it's gonna be a hard one as well. So we're not able to feel comfortable just thinking about the next games that we have, as well as trying to take care of the Concacaf and just trying to find a good balance for also our players to feel confident enough to go to the Club World Cup and like actually put in a performance. So it's
Yeah, that's it. Um, I found this there's this woman at the Mazatlan game that just like her face was like my expression for all these games where it's like you're just putting your head at your head like you want to just yank out your hair because you don't know what exactly is wrong. Um, and now people are calling for Demichelis' job. It we're he's had 11 games to try to either implement a style, implement a philosophy. It just doesn't look like it's clicking, and it doesn't help that he has Canales playing out on the wing. Um, he's your number 10. I would think a number 10, at least, what I see from other number 10s, they get the freedom to just roam around and, figure out where they want to go or where they feel they're more comfortable for that particular game. Canales isn't getting that. He is stuck on the right side. He'll drift a little bit. If you look at his heat map, he'll be drifting around.
Yeah.
But primarily right wing. I don't know if it's by design or I don't know. I just that's the most confusing thing is just how do you have your best player? Obviously, he's really good and he can still impact through like corner kicks, set pieces. Sometimes he'll take shots from outside the box, so he can still impact the game. But it's like you're having him swim, and he's swimming, against the current, right? So I feel like that's, it's just frustrating, and I feel like a lot of people are frustrated with like, how do you have our number 10 just pinned to the right side when you look at other number 10s? I think if I go look at James' heat map, he gets some type of freedom to roam around. I'm making a like drastic comparison, but I'm comparing like the job of a number 10. You look at I've looked at like Neymar with Santos, gets freedom to roam around. I even seen like Memphis Depay gets a little bit of freedom to roam around. Like these types of players that you bring in that come from Europe get a little bit of freedom to roam around. But in this case, he is stuck on the right side. Do you think this is going to be? And we can get into are you in or out with Demichelis, but you can use that as a transition to get to your point if you're in or out with him. But do you think this is just the coach being, this is my philosophy, this is what I believe in? So a stubborn coach, or do you feel like, where is this going with? Because you can't have him just playing on your right side. I'll start with you, Fernando, first. Where are you with Demichelis on this situation?
It's just stubbornness from Demichelis. At this point, I feel like we have players to play out on the right wing, on the right mid, to like kind of take advantage of Canales being in the center and playing as a 10. Like we have Ocampos, who has experience playing on the right wing, as well as Tecatito. Both of them are good players that you can rely on. With Ocampos, and like at the beginning, Ocampos was giving in crosses without no problems, giving in to Berterame, just giving in to Brandon last season, and I feel like having him on the right wing might create a little bit more, as well as Tecatito, which honestly, at the beginning of the season, I feel like he was not doing a good job. But like, I think it was after the Querétaro game where he scored. Like, I think it was a score. He scored and an assist. I feel like after that he started gaining a little bit more confidence, in which I feel like Tecatito nowadays can start for us on the right wing. And he's a Mexican player. We're not gonna take in like that foreign spot that we need for players like the Osa, for Canales. So, and I mean, also going into Berterame, I'm a Berterame fan. Like I support him, but it's getting to the point where like you need to at least show that you're like backing up your backing up your team. And going again to the Michelis, I feel like he was the one. I, he was the one that did not actively search for a striker, having De La Rosa, having Platanito, and having Berterame. And I'm sorry, but none of them have been reliable for this whole season. None of them. It is, and it's starting to show that stubbornness in certain points in on your team is making you kind of make it so it's not functioning as a system. And at the end of the day, like you said, the Michelis does not have a system. it's just different formation after different formation after like different position changes that I'm sorry, but by a season and a half, well, technically just a season already, because he started like around
It
the
was after
fifth.
Leagues Cup. It was around when the Leagues Cup end, like September. Because I know Nico Sanchez coached one game. It was like that Puebla game. I
Yeah,
think it was like
He
late
coached the
September.
first game, I
Yeah,
think, against Puebla.
yeah. It was. I think it was like
yeah,
late September, early October. It was around there. It's late September, early October. I don't have the exact date, but it was like around that.
yeah. So you at least have like 6 months with your team, and you're supposed to already know the strengths of each of your players, so you can accommodate them and like get the best out of them. And I feel like the Michelis has not found a way to do that with every single player that we have. And to talk about the quality of the players, like they're good. You're supposed to see their strengths. Like you ended up signing them for a reason, and it still doesn't show. It's the same thing over and over for him.
So are you in or out?
I want with all my heart to be in because the Michelis means a lot. Like European player coming from the teams that he has coached and played at. I feel like, hey, I want this man. This man has experience. This man can like actually show up to big games. But it's the doubt is starting to kick in. I'm at that point where like if one more bad game happens, I'm like the Michelis out, and I feel like that's gonna be the situation.
So okay, again, I don't want to get too far ahead with the Vancouver stuff, but for you, where are you in this week? You got Vancouver, and then not even at home. They get it at Torreon, so you're playing in Santos Laguna Stadium, and then you get a Puma side that has found some type of confidence under Efrain Juarez coming in. Where's your like? Okay, do you think this is a determining week for Demichelis? Like, what exactly do you want to see to either convince you that you're in or that you're out?
I feel like Concacaf right now. I was talking with my sister about this like a little bit ago. Concacaf. I think it might be good that we miss out this season just so we can focus a little bit more on the Club World Cup and La Liga, which we
let,
are.
let me push a little bit because I've heard that take some people say that, but you're wasting one bullet of the two bullets that you know they have to qualify for the 2029 Club World Cup. So it's like they're going to play in the Concacaf next tournament, no, not next season or next year, I should say next year. Um, but and to me, it's because the reason why you got these players like Canales, Oliver Torres, is because you're able to send around a convincing project around the Club World Cup this year. So I feel like if and you see America can miss it, Tigres obviously can
Yeah,
miss it. So it's not like a guarantee that maybe next year. I just feel like qualify, get that ticket out of the way, and then I just my opinion. I don't know if you agree or not, and I just wanted to just put that in there because I know you're not alone. I've read that on Twitter. I've heard like when you listen to I don't listen to I just listen to Santiago Furcado's show because I work from home, so like I need stuff to listen to. And you're not alone. I've heard some people. I'll rip my hair out and be like, please stop saying that. But I just wanted to just put that in your just drop that into your like overall take on that. No, just keep going with your thought.
as long as they win something, either the Concacaf or Liga MX, I feel like this season needs to be one that Rayados shows the power that we have. Because I'm sorry, we've been disrespected a lot of times, like as a team, from like different narrators over into the and like different places that don't put Rayados name. They don't respect Rayados' name mostly because of that. So like I feel like having such a powerhouse of a team and being such a good institution, like you gotta start showing something at least. And it's been a long time that Rayados has not showed anything.
So for you, does Demichelis need to win these two games this week to at least give him some breathing room? So not what would
I feel
be? Go ahead.
I feel I feel comfortable if we at least win the Vancouver game. I'm expecting at least a tie to Pumas, not because of Rayados, mainly because of Efraín Juárez. Because the the way that he's currently handling Pumas, I feel like Pumas is gonna be a menace again. But like, if we at least win the game against Vancouver and at least get a tie, I feel like he should stay. If he doesn't get at least those results, like it's a mandatory win against Vancouver, and it's at least a tie or more with Pumas.
Yeah, because you also look at the bracket. Monterrey should be cakewalking to the semifinals. Obviously now, yeah, I wasn't expecting Pumas to make an actual decent hire in Efrain Juarez, who has them, like I said, believing in themselves again. But you look at, that's like a cakewalk. You had Forge. You've seen Tigres take care of Vancouver year at almost like it's like they almost played every year. It seems in Concacaf. You don't want to go out to this team, and then I'm assuming Pumas gets through against Alajuelense, but you never know. But again, it's, these are the most. This is the most easiest route that they could ever have, and to at least get to the semifinals where you're either going to get. It looks like it's going to be either LAFC or Messi and friends, one of the two. But going back to Demichelis, Samira, are you in or are you out with our Argentine manager?
It's like my brother. It's so hard to like take a side like Demichelis out or Demichelis in, because even if he wins the game against Vancouver, because he got a tie with your B or C squad, you know that if you get your actual like the first team, you know you're gonna beat them. Because what we saw in the game, we were controlling the game so far. Everything was good. Just that goal that it was unfortunate, but it was fair because of the moment that we're living. If they win and they, let's say they tie against Pumas, Pumas is not your strongest rival this next couple of matches, and that doesn't mean that winning these two games are actually going to help you to win the rest of the games. Now, I feel that it's time for that process that you were talking about, like this whole process for the Club World Cup. That we knew that we were patient. We were not expecting getting to the final this last season, to be honest, for what we were leaving with Tano, and now when we got the Michelis, we saw that we were bringing something more, something extra, that we thought it was like that mental state that Pumas is living right now with Efrain Juarez. So that's why you're expecting from a coach like, hey, you do understand your mental moment has to be really strong, because the players, I'm sorry, but the players, you have them. You have the quality, you have whatever it takes, you have a full squad that can represent your team in the Club World Cup. At least you can bring a striker, because that's what we're lacking of right now, to be honest. But we have a great team, that if you know how to use it, if you know how to manage it, if you know how to move it, if you know how to read the other team and know how to win every single game, because you don't play the games like the same way in every game. You're not going to play the same against Vancouver and Pumas and Tigres, So that's what I'm most concerned about, the Michelis. We've been patient. Right now, we cannot miss a game anymore. So right now, because of him letting those stupid points leave, because that's what it is.
Yeah. So
Um, you're
if you
literally
look
just
at the games against
right.
Mazatlan, Juarez, Puebla,
Mhm.
and Atlas, so that's 12 points. He only got a possible 2, so he dropped 10 points. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
So I mean, that's the thing. Like now you're in a position that you're not new. You know your players. You know who you have. You have competition coming up. There's no breaks right now. Like there's no long break that you can be like, okay, we're gonna recover this and that. I haven't
Well,
seen
he gets the
examples back.
he gets
Like,
nations like when he plays Nations League. That's the only break he gets. That's the only get
yeah,
that break, and that's it. There's nothing
but
else.
like right now we're gonna be playing like a double. Like in a week, we're playing two games, so it's like That's just going to be for the players to recover. That's it. Not to like work on something that it's going to work out, or like you expect you're going to be looking at something different on the next couple of days. So I personally would not want to start the new process at this point. But to be honest, for what we've seen on Demichelis on this last games, on what we're expecting, I'm honestly not confident to take him to the Club World Cup, and that's why you brought him here, and that's why you're getting your players. I mean, Sergio Ramos, you literally brought him for the Club World Cup, so that's like my biggest concern. If he has not showed something right now, I don't think he's gonna show something like in the next couple of
What
games.
what do you need to see from us? The same thing that I asked your brother. What do you need to see from him this week to say okay? Because if they're gonna make a change, it's gonna be at that FIFA break later this like in what is it? We're in the 10th, so like in 10, 11, 12, 13 days, it would
Yeah,
be that would be
Yeah.
the time to make a change because you have some you got a week and a half or whatever the break is to try to bring in a new manager or whatever, or go with an interim as you try to find a new manager for that Club World Cup because you're not taking an interim. But what do you need to see from him this week to at least give you some type of confidence? Is it a dominating win against Vancouver and then even just squeaking out a win against Pumas, or what do you need to see for you personally to say, okay, I am at least give him to the end of the season to see how everything plays out. But what do you need to see from him this week?
he can't lose any game. Like he can't lose at all or a tie. I would not accept a tie because now with this lineup that he did on Cruz Azul this last game, he's telling you that he has the whole squad. So now that you know that you need to, so if you lose against Vancouver, you're out. So for like common sense, you're gonna use your best players so you can advance to the next game. And if you're already expecting for him not to lose any game on the Liga MX, because we're literally, I don't even know, like we have to depend on results from the guys like above us, that we've seen that some of the teams are actually like not doing very well. It's going to be a combination of the best moment that we're going to live in this tournament is going to be taking advantage of mistakes from other teams that might be lacking, that might be having players injured or not living the best moment that they were living, so it's going to be a combination. But right now, if the Michelis loses any game, I don't think he's going to be ready for what's going to be next. And again, I don't want to start a process right now, but if you need to do it right now, do it right now, like as soon as
Yeah,
possible, so you can actually work on what we have, because we don't know any players like are gonna be for the Club World Cup for the 6 players that we're
yeah,
allowed to get. So I mean, I don't know. He can't lose at all.
yeah. So it also makes it hard because of the 8 teams above Monterrey's in ninth place. They're tied with Chivas, but Monterrey has the tiebreaker in goal differential. So above the teams above them, only America and Cruz Azul and Tigres are playing like another tournament, right? And Cruz Azul and America, they're gonna cancel each other out because if they both advance, or if they don't even advance, because you never know. America's down 1-0 to Chivas, and Cruz Azul and Seattle are leveled 0-0. You never know with these games. But either way, those three are the only ones you got. Juarez isn't playing internationally. Pachuca isn't. Necaxa isn't. Toluca isn't. And Leon isn't. So these guys, all they need to focus on is just the league, and that's it. So 3 out of the 18. So it doesn't help that those teams are focused. For me personally, I am out on Demichelis. I'm over it. Like just playing your best player on the wing and not as a number 10 is just, to me, is inexcusable. Like he's your best player. Let him get the freedom that he wants and then he needs. I don't think he's gonna. To me, I don't see Canales ask. If Canales was a name or somebody else more with the strong personality to say, you know what, I'm just gonna play where I feel comfortable. I don't think he's gonna do that. But it's like at some point you have to see the light. And I don't know if this is his downfall. And for me, look, I know a lot of people say you can't be changing a manager every 6 months. If he does go, we could have fired 2 managers in less than a year. So, or less than a calendar year, because they got rid of Don Ortiz late August, I think it was, whenever that Leagues Cup loss to Austin FC happened, or that no, it was Pumas that they drew and they were eliminated or whatever. So less than one full year will go by and they had fired 2 managers. But I follow Brazilian soccer and they fire managers like it's going out of style. They'll get rid of a manager and be like, I know Lacramon went to Cruzeiro. He got fired before the season started. He lost a state tournament or something. He didn't perform well for them, so he got sacked. So I just feel like when people say, well, you can't be firing a manager every 6 months, and look at how Brazilian clubs operate, they'll just, the teams will go through 1 or 2 or 3 managers in one season. But yeah, I just feel like if they feel he is, I'm never a fan of like giving a manager an ultimatum where it's like, you need to prove to us in this game to like give us some type of confidence. I think if your gut's telling you to get rid of him, get rid of him. I know Pumas did this too with Lerma, but his team got roasted. I think it was the Cholos game where they lost like 3-0, and then he got sacked like right after, like the day after. So I'm never a fan of these these ultimatum weeks or matches or whatever. Be like, you got to prove to us. I feel like if Monterrey's gut is telling them, hey, this isn't the guy, they should just pull it. Like you said, somebody just pull the trigger. Don't waste time. But yeah, this is gonna be a very interesting week because to me, the fact that it's on a neutral field, I mean, like Monterrey should advance and should beat Vancouver. But for me, I'm a very paranoid person that it's on a neutral field or a neutral site. I always get like that. That can mean like there's no crowd. I mean, there's gonna be fans, but it's not the same like crowd. It's not the same. We're asking people to travel midweek. All this, I just feel like, that paranoid side of me is like, okay, that's gonna play a factor. This might be it. But they should advance, and then we saw it last year, with us. You bring in a coach mid season and he just pushes the right buttons and the team gets hot. And I feel like maybe that's going to happen with Efrain Juarez, where like he's just pushing the right buttons. And Funes Mori already scored against us in Leagues Cup, so I'm expecting him to score against us. Yeah, so he already has one. Orali Avila, he scored 2. I think he scored in this past game too. So you might get 1 or 2 or both former Monterrey players to score. So Juarez is clicking all the right buttons, So I just feel like, to me, it's and this is just my preference. I feel like if Demichelis goes too, and this is a topic for another podcast if he does go, but try to look for an outside of Argentine nationality. I think they've gone this route multiple times with hiring Turco Mohamed twice, hiring Dan Ortiz, and then hiring Demichelis. I think it's time to go outside the box, look at other nationalities, look at other countries. They've started doing that with the players. Like, it's just like, start doing that with your coaches. But speaking of players, one player that will still be counted as a foreigner will be Germán Berterame after Mexico decides not to take him for these Concacaf Nations League, this Nations League match against Canada, which means he will be counting as a foreigner until 2026, the summer of 2026 at the World Cup next year, because Monterrey is playing at the Club World Cup, which is ongoing at the same time as the Gold Cup, which is the last matches for Mexico in terms of official matches. They're going to have friendlies in the fall, but since they're hosting the World Cup, they don't need to go through the qualifying process. So no official matches. They'll probably just play friendlies. So Berterame, you guys have touched him already in terms of like the strikers and all that. Knowing that he counts now as a foreigner until the summer of 2026, and that's if he gets a call up for the World Cup. Are you also in, out? Where's your stance now that he is not going to be counted as a Mexican player? He's now a foreigner for at least another year and a half, year and some months or whatever from now until next summer's World Cup. I'll start with you, Zameda, first.
I'm kind of sad with the Berterame situation because, to be honest, he has already like give proven to us that he can give you like a very good game. He can be like scoring 1 or 2 goals and then don't score like for 3 games and then come back and score another goal. And you cannot, like as a striker right now for Rayados, you cannot just be expecting um for the perfect play so you can just touch it and finish it. We've seen that with Ramos right now, that he's literally just looking for the ball. And I don't understand how a deep, like a center back, can be better with that instinct than your strikers. And that tells you a lot. So it's not that he's bad, it's just that the level that we need right now and that we can have right now, he's not like leveling it up
Yeah,
as he should be. So at this point, we were like, okay, cool. He's gonna become like, he's gonna play for like an official game. And he's gonna stop using like a foreign spot, but he's not right now. So it's like, dude, you need to respond. If not, we can take your spot for another player. Because I mean, De La Rosa and Plátano, they're Mexican, right? But
yeah,
still, if you have a striker and you put him in, we're not gonna expect like for them to solve a game. They might be if they have the perfect play. They might,
yeah.
but we
Which
cannot.
De La Rosa got against Vancouver. Yeah.
Oh my god, we were like, and we thought it was gonna be like,
I thought it was a bad cross.
yeah, but I mean, still, you cannot rely on them because they have
Yeah,
proven that you cannot rely on them.
yeah,
It's not something like 2 3 games. He's new. They're not. I mean, they're not new. None of them are new. I mean, Platan was back, but what we saw that he was doing at Leon, he was
yeah,
doing great. And I don't know if it's because, again, I don't know if it's because Demichelis is trying to like experiment, and you don't understand that you cannot be making the same play every single time. If you know your striker's not moving, if you know your striker's not fighting for like creating a space, because that's something you don't see. Like it's really hard for them to create a space to get the ball and actually score. So that's why we're now relying on just Canales trying to be like hitting the ball outside of the area, or like
Oliver Torres is another one that
Oliver
scored from outside
Torres,
the area. So like you're
De Osa,
yeah,
and we cannot be blaming them for not appearing on a game because they're not
yeah,
strikers.
yeah.
So that's what's concerning. I don't think, but like they should have taken the offer, man. They should have taken the
Yeah, so
offer.
he got 2 offers from MLS. I think both of them came last year or the year and a half. One of them was from Portland.
Yep.
That one was like they were willing to break the bank. Another one was from FC Cincinnati when they went after I think last summer too. It's something. It was those 2 teams. Those teams were willing to pay north of $10 million for him. He obviously declined. He didn't want to go, and I think Monterrey wasn't like forcing him out the door. But now he's going to have to make a decision. Is he going to want to give, I don't know. I think he's going to get another MLS offer. I think he's shown that he can take advantage of MLS defending at Leagues Cup and when they play like in Concacaf. So I don't feel like MLS teams will be like, oh no, we don't want him anymore. I feel like another team will try to pay at least, if he can get at least $10 million for him, that would be ideal because you mentioned he's very inconsistent. He'll give you last tournament he went a month without scoring, and that was like my big moment of pulling my hair out because that was when he could have earned a call up for the Mexican national team, and that was when Santi Jimenez was injured. They took Angel Sepulveda over Berterame, and that was like I feel like that was the moment where he could have earned a call up, but he went cold, from like what was it, October to November. He went a good month without scoring a goal, and they didn't bring him up or they didn't take him. And I feel like he just has those moments where it's like he finds goals. He'll go 2 or 3 games scoring a goal, and then he'll go 2 or 3 games without scoring a goal, and that's just that inconsistency that he has. But you, Fernando, now that he's going to occupy a foreign spot for the next year, where do you stand on Berterame? Do you feel like obviously he has a say whether if an MLS offer comes, like he has to say yes, I agree. But if you're Monterrey now, are you like pushing him a little bit? Because previously I don't feel like they were like pushing him. They were betting on he's going to get a call up. He's going to get a call up, and he won't cost us a foreign spot anymore. But now he is. Where do you stand on that? And do you feel like the club might push him a little bit if an MLS offer comes? Either the MLS is. I don't think they're going to sell him now, even though MLS's window is open. But in the summertime, do you see them like pushing him towards an MLS, team? Where do you stand on all of this?
Like I said, I'm a really big fan of Berterame. I know what he can do. So my opinion would be either loaning him out to an MLS team with an option to buy, which I feel like would be the smartest decision. Because if you have Berterame with a good release clause, like around the 12, 13 million that you were supposed to get when Cincinnati and Austin were looking for him, put that as the buy clause for a loan and take him over to one of those teams, I feel like Berterame can prove himself and maybe get a call up. And at that point, if they don't buy Berterame, we can get him back. And by that time, if he did good, maybe he receives a call up and turns to now being like a Mexican national part of the team. So he's not gonna take that spot anymore. But I'm talking that like as a dream.
Yeah, I was about to say you're grasping at straws. You're hoping like because I don't if I'm not mistaken, Lozano didn't get called up either, and I don't think Herrera was when he was at Houston Dynamo. I don't think he got a lot of call ups. I know he got one random one. But for the most part, Mexican players who go to MLS rarely get any type of call ups, and that's why I feel like Berterame was like, I'm not willing to go to Portland or Cincinnati. Because that's pretty much me putting the nail in the coffin for any hopes of getting a call up. But go ahead.
Definitely, like I said, it's a far-reach situation that I wish was possible. But being realistic, Berterame either needs to go or needs to show up. Because I'm sorry, I'm not a big fan of the two other strikers that we have. I don't want to say a hater of De La Rosa, but I do criticize him too much, definitely. And Platanito, I feel like he has not gotten the opportunity being I feel like a different style of striker than De La Rosa and Berterame, which are kind of similar. Platanito may fit into a different system, but it's not the system that Monterrey is running right now.
Yeah, and if I remember, I think it was Furcade or somebody said that Platano's arrival was like already done before Demichelis. Like that was, I guess they had it in mind. Like, okay, we're gonna exercise any buyback clause that we have or whatever. So I feel like, and you can see it like he's not using him that often when he doesn't need to, or when he's like, I have to score a goal. Like this past weekend against Cruz Azul, where it's like doesn't even play. So go ahead.
So at this moment, I'm thinking like, okay, if Demichelis is out, and maybe we can get another manager that kind of focuses a little bit more on the type of play that Berterame is more comfortable with, or if we can get someone that manages in a different style and can get Platanito Alvarado to work, I feel like I would still let Berterame stay, but it's just a big risk. You're just losing money on a player that I don't remember how much we bought him for. I think
it was like 8 million, 8 million, around that price. It was 7 8, so they would have made a profit. Because I think I know at least Portland was
The
willing
last
to.
offer was 15.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
willing to execute his release clause. They were willing to pay his release clause. I know Portland wants, I think Seattle too, or not Seattle, Cincinnati.
I think Cincinnati was like 13. They were not gonna do the clause, but we're losing money on them. From at this point, I feel like Berterame is barely worth what we bought him for, and is risking going even lower if he doesn't show up for this next game. So if we try to sell him at this point, we're gonna lose money on a player that it was an investment on long term. Thinking I I'm I'm positive that Rayados thought Berterame was going to be a good player that was going to get called up to the national team. Like the whole plan was built around that. That is
Yeah,
why
because
we
they
bought
extended
him.
him. They extended him until 2027 last year, and like a lot of people, I included myself. I was like, why are you extending him? He still has, because his contract expired next year, so they extended. They added another year on top of what he had left. So he has 2 years left on his deal.
Yeah. So for me, it's going out for another striker at the end of the season. Right now, what we need to do is like, okay, we can still talk about Berterame not being able to fit into the Monterrey squad and not like he's getting behind that power curve of players that we have, like Canales, like Campos, like Sergio Ramos. All of them are showing up except Berterame. He needs. I don't know if it's a different manager. I don't know if it's the players surrounding him, but someone needs to spark that that same Berterame that we saw on Leagues Cup before he got injured. Because like if we are able to get that Berterame, I feel like we shouldn't even look at another striker too long for like the Club World Cup. But we
Yeah.
cannot risk that.
But again, he was playing. My pushback, and I always listen to that. It's just he was playing against MLS defense. Like he was carving up Real Salt Lake. He was carving up Seattle Sounders. He was carving up before he got. Did he score in that game against Portland before he got injured? I don't remember. But he got injured in that Portland game.
Yeah.
But yeah, and he's like he scored against Inter Miami. Like he's been pretty consistent against MLS teams, and that's my way of thinking of like an MLS team would consider buying him. Like a desperate team like Sporting Kansas City. Oh no, they bought LA, but like someone like that, like a Colorado Rapids or like
Just take him to San Diego FC.
Yeah, they'll overspend. They'll pay that what they need to get a striker that they've seen on film score against MLS.
Yeah.
That's my hope for them to get like at least 10 million. If they can get 10 million, you get a $2 million profit from what you bought him, and then you just because obviously FIFA has given teams a window. I don't know how many teams or how many players they can get. It's been wishy-washy with that information. Some say 6, some say 3, some say I don't even. It started off as 1 player you can get. So like I'm pretty sure they'll get consistent once we get closer. But to me, the whole issue was I wanted them to get a striker in the winter transfer window because to me now we don't even know if we might fire the manager, but like now you're asking a striker to like jump in right away and try to like figure out how Canales plays, figure out how Campos plays, figure out how Oliver Torres plays, figure out how all these players on a moving like you're jumping on a moving train. I would have preferred grab one in the winter transfer window, let him adapt. Let them get chemistry with all these players that you're paying a lot of money, and then boom, once the Club World Cups, you're there. But they obviously thought, hey, we'll go Berterame.
Yeah.
I just wasn't a fan of that. But yeah, we'll just leave that there. But we got about 7-8 minutes left. We'll start with Fernando. What's your expectation for this second leg? If you want to throw in your reaction to that first leg, that second half was a disaster for me. Monterrey did not show up in that second half. If you look at the attacking momentum on SofaScore, it was just all Vancouver. It was all Vancouver. Vancouver, if you're speaking unbiased, they deserved that goal. Monterrey was parking the bus. I was not a fan of them. Why are you defending a 1-0 lead? But yeah, if you want to give your thoughts, if you want to include that first leg, and then your expectation for the second leg, because there's a lot of pressure. If we just said earlier, they cannot lose this game. It would be Chernobyl type of nuclear disaster, because you waste one of your bullets to like qualify for the 2029 World Cup. And there's also the Intercontinental Cup that we saw Pachuca play Botafogo earlier or late last year. So this, it's not just to me. It's not just the trophy for the Concacaf Champions. It's not like the prize. It's what you get with that trophy. So they cannot lose this game. But what were your what are your quick thoughts on that first leg, and then what do you expect for the second leg going to Torreon? Both of those teams 1-1.
For me, it was a lucky game that Rayados was able to get at least a tie, because that goal from De La Rosa was a miracle, to be honest. And the Vancouver team, like you said, after the second half, just like had a whole different phase. It showed why it's currently standing in the position that they are at the moment in MLS. And if they show that A game on this next game, Rayados needs to step up, because I don't think that even with our starting 11, if we don't do the proper preparations to go against that MLS team, that I'm sorry, if Tigres is able to beat it every single year, there's no excuses on why Rayados shouldn't. And that game needs to at least end a 3 or 4-1 win for me to be convinced that we should move forward with the Michelis.
Zamira, what were your thoughts on that really very ugly 1-1 draw? That if Vancouver had people that can finish their scoring chances, Vancouver could have gone away with at least a 2 or 3 goal lead, which I think Demichelis wouldn't have survived if that would have happened. And then going into the second leg, where we talked about it feels more like you have to advance. There's no other way. They have to advance. But what are your thoughts on the first and second leg?
Well, I mean the first this last game, shout out to Tony Leone. I was so excited to see the level he was showing. Again, it was a B, almost C squad. The tie, you would understand it, but if you watched the game, and you saw the first 45 minutes, you were creating that same expectations for the second half. And usually you would see on the Michelis that he will be solving the games on the second half. Like on this last Liguilla against San Luis, against Pumas. So you would imagine that the Michelis will be solving the important games because he's putting everything into the second half. But this was not the case. I did saw. I think you posted it that the momentum. It was like it seems like Rayados didn't even play the second half. Like no possession at all. Like no shooting. They were not even showing up. Like on the last quarter of the field. So we would have to see how it goes. I don't know if Demichelis is gonna use like the full A squad. Because again, if he's giving the ultimatum, he's gonna use the full A squad because he knows that his job is depending on that game. So he's gonna use his best man, and I don't know if that's gonna be a good idea right now. With all of like the traveling and all of the games that we have coming up. So I do know that we have what it takes, like to get this game, to get through the next round. You can still play with like a hybrid A and B lineup because we can find a way of at least controlling your results and not getting any error. Scoring like in the first half, you will be able to control the second half. But again, that's our concern right now. If they do play with the A team and like the hybrid, I don't want to say I'm confident, but I do know that they will be able to go to the next round. So I don't want to jinx it too.
Yeah.
I know they have what it takes. We're just gonna see the moment that they're living right now. That's gonna be super important to see this. Is it Wednesday? Yeah. Wednesday.
Yeah, it's Wednesday. Yeah, they're gonna play. It's the time change I honestly forgot. It's 5:30 Pacific time. Everybody, I think it's 8:30 East Coast and 6:30 Central. Yeah, so they're getting it. I don't know if they're getting I don't know if it's the early game. I don't know if somebody else is playing
Yeah,
before them, but they're it's right early. It's at least in terms of it's not late. So it's right off the gate. Yeah, it's make or break. If if they lose, it is going to be. I don't think they're going to lose, but like I said, it's in a neutral field. Shakira took priority over this game, so they have to figure it out because if not, then
yeah,
it's just going to open up
And if
another
they
can.
lose, Demichelis is gonna
Yeah,
be out,
yeah,
and you're gonna start their process as soon as
yeah,
possible. So I
yeah.
don't
So
want to say that I want them to lose, but it's gonna be really important.
yeah, they have to win.
yeah.
They have to win because this is the easiest. Like I said earlier, this is the easiest route they'll have to get to the final, and to win a trophy. Because I think at this point, Monterrey has not won a trophy since 2021. Beggars can't be choosers. You win one of them, win one trophy at least. Which is
Just
why
something.
which is why I was like not happy with last year when they were like, oh, we can don't worry about the Concacaf. I'm like, we have to win one trophy, just at least so we can get Canales to be like, yes, we can win a trophy with you. Because right now it's starting to get a little bit desperate with him, especially right now since he hasn't extended his contract, and usually he only signed a 3-year deal, so it's like, if they're signing these players to like multiple, Berterame still had a year on his contract. They extended him, and they have not extended Canales, so that's just a little concerning for me. But yeah, it's gonna be everybody's gonna be on pins and needles. They got to score first. If they concede first, it's gonna be
It's
everybody's nerves are gonna go shoot up through the roof. But yeah, I want to feel confident that they'll advance, but then there's a pessimist in me that sees how they're performing. Uh, but yeah,
yeah,
it's going to be an interesting week. Uh, that we're all done here.
yeah.
If you have anything that you want to add, whatever take that you just want to get off your chest, because now it's the time to get it off your chest because you've been either holding it in for like the last couple of days. I'll start with you, Fernando. Is there anything you want to just get off your chest, or anything else you want to add before we sign off?
The only thing I wanted to say is, at the beginning of the season, I was a avid. Well, I proposed a lot that we should have brought in another striker. And another way to shout out that I always have and I always will say is Lucas Martinez Dupuy would have fitted incredibly into this Rayados squad, being such a young player and being Mexican. I don't know how any team has thought actually signed them. So if Rayados can be on top of that signing, I feel like he is one of the players that can do that jump from the team that he's currently in Argentina to Mexico and then over to Europe. So if we're able to take advantage of players like that, like those are the smart,
Yeah.
like things that Real needs to do.
Um, I not to go too much on a rant here, but like I am hopeful that Monterrey can produce a goal. You have the kid Valenzuela. He's shown that he can play against um whatever you consider Forge, whether you consider them like a second or third division side, and he played good against Querétaro, which for me is a second division side masquerading as a first division side. Uh, so I'm high on him. You have Aldo Dominguez' son. Dude's killing it. He's playing. He's just about to turn 17 next month, but he's playing against 18-year-olds. So really good prospect there. But Zamira, anything else you want to add?
I'm just sad that I had to admit that Corcho, he's being like really exposed in a bad situation, and I just want to let everyone know to be patient because he has a talent. He's just not being used properly. But no, I guess it's just
And
like
roasted on social media. He is getting destroyed. He is getting destroyed.
Yeah, I just hate seeing comments like he's trash. Dude, he's not trash. He's just trying to get in a position in a lineup that they're not supposed to play like that. And he's not supposed to be playing like that. So it's frustrating because when Gorcho first got to the team, he was doing great. Like you were safe on your back, but you were also having those passes like in lines that it was gonna like it gave you a lot of like game and like you were really going forward. And because of what Demichelis is doing with him, putting him in the back and then putting him in the side and like sharing with Deosa and now share with change with Oliver and now play with Fimbres. It's with Amris. It's just like, man, that's the problem, that you're exposing players that might be good for what you have right now. And I don't know, man. It's just, I guess it's just the moment that we're living right now as Rayados. It's just frustration because we have what it takes. We have a great team. We have infrastructure. We have preparation. We have the money to get players that you want. So it's kind of concerned that not even Sergio Ramos can like give them a cachetada and be like, "Hey man, wake up!" Like, you're in a position that, I mean, if they're smart enough, they know that if you give a great game at the Club World Cup, you might be going to Europe. And
Yeah.
for the young players to be in that position, like that opportunity that they're giving them, it's just like, man, just wake up. You have what you got. You can make it. Just don't mess up anymore. Like, focus. That's it.
Yeah, you couldn't put it any better. You know, I enjoyed having both of you. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have you guys on, or you know, both of you back on. You know, if this goes nuclear, or at least if the waters calm down, this is going to be a hectic week. I already can, you know, I've ignored it, but now like as the Vancouver game gets closer, it's like, okay, that the everything's settling in, that this is going to be make or break, and especially now you're starting to see like rumors of certain coaches that they'll go after. Yeah, that.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm not gonna touch it
If
there.
Yeah, we're not gonna get into that,
Yeah,
but
we gotta wait till
it change, please let. I want to be there.
yeah, we'll wait
Yeah.
there. But yeah, again, thank you for coming on. I always enjoy and I've enjoyed this, so I'm definitely gonna have both of you on at the same time in the future. Yeah, everybody, like,
Thank
subscribe.
you.
I have to get used to
Thanks
saying
for
like,
having us.
no worries. I have to get used to saying like and subscribe on YouTube and all this and that. So yeah, thank everybody for listening.
Thank you.
See y'all.